The year was 1973. Two teenagers were learning basic programming on a mainframe computer. One was in Seattle, Washington, the other in Fort Collins, Colorado. They both spent hundreds of hours of computer time when it was very expensive. One of these boys was Bill Gates, who later founded Microsoft. The other was me. Hi, I'm Greg Jameson. Both Bill Gates and I learned basic programming in high school, before computers were commonplace. We learned on the same machine, a DEC PDP-10. Bill had to go to a computer lab, whereas my dad was a professor at Colorado State University and had a research project that had a portable teletype that I could operate from home. So I had an advantage over Bill. 2 years later, one of my dad's grad students hired me because of my interactive experience. At the time, everybody else was still using punch cards. Remember punch cards? I still have some, as well as an 8-inch floppy. I later got a job at CSU with a professor who asked, "Are you the same Jameson who is working with Dennis Child?" So I spent my undergraduate time writing a program that became a popular method for doing visual analysis by taking elevation data and determining which areas were visible from various locations. I later went to grad school at the University of Arizona, and PCs started coming out. This was still 4 years before the introduction of the Macintosh. My first home computer was a Texas Instruments TI-99A. I wrote a program that allowed you to do landscape design on the TI-99. As I was in grad school for landscape architecture, I showed this to my major professor, who got all excited about it, which of course only encouraged me. My father-in-law worked for IBM, so when the IBM PC came out, I was able to get one of the first ATs. It was now 1983, and I was working for a landscape architecture firm. A program called AutoCAD had just been released. I convinced my company to buy it. 2 computers with software licenses, digitizer, and a plotter were about $50,000. It didn't work, so they said, "Jameson, you better fix it." I spent a couple of months customizing AutoCAD, and the dealer who sold it to us made a follow-up visit to see how we were doing. When I showed them what I'd done, they said, "We could sell this." So 2 months later, I found myself at Comdex, the computer dealer expo in Las Vegas, where I was invited to participate in the AutoCAD booth. There I met the guy who wrote AutoCAD, John Walker. John had also developed another program that he called AutoBook. This was a program where you could be reading a piece of text or looking at a picture and then click on a hyperlink to jump from one part of the book and read more detail about the highlighted text. Remember, this was back in 1984, about 11 years before the advent of the World Wide Web. No one seemed to have much interest in AutoBook, but there was a lot of buzz about AutoCAD. By the end of Comdex, Autodesk had signed up about 250 dealers, and we had 20 dealers for our LandCAD product. In 1986, AutoCAD version 2.18 was released. This was different than any previous version in that it now included an API, an Application Programming Interface. John Walker had selected a language used for artificial intelligence, Lisp, which stood for Lisp Processor. With the introduction of AutoLisp, companies like LandCAD could now program AutoCAD to do all sorts of tasks that the core AutoCAD package did not include. AutoCAD became a graphics engine with an attached programming language. This allowed us to develop programs like our irrigation design module that would automatically lay out sprinkler heads, draw the pipe, and assign sizes to it. We could also keep track of everything we put in the drawing, and thus were able to generate a bill of materials with our estimating module. When AutoCAD 10 shipped in 1988, it included 3D support. So we added a module called Quadrangle that took 3-dimensional survey points and automatically generated contour maps and digital terrain models. All of this was done on a PC at a time when industry experts said it couldn't be done. But as John Walker said, well, we didn't have anything else to do, so we just went ahead and tried anyway. Oh, the dealer that originally sold us our first AutoCAD systems? I later hired him to work for my company. After being listed on the Inc. 500 and named AutoCAD Software of the Year for 2 years in a row, we merged the company with another software company in 1995. LandCAD is still sold today in over 20 countries. I've gone on to develop internet-based software that has been used by thousands of people all over the world. So what do Bill Gates, John Walker, and Greg Jameson have in common, besides learning programming on mainframe computers at the same time? We were all part of a revolution. We wanted to change the world. Now, changing the world may seem grandiose and far-fetched, but for those of us in the early PC industry, this somehow seemed to be an entirely realistic goal. As everyone knows, Steve Jobs is no longer with us. Steve used to say, "We're here to put a dent in the universe. Otherwise, why else even be here?" The passing of any celebrity often causes us to give pause and ask ourselves how we have enriched the lives of others. Steve Jobs literally touched the lives of almost everyone on the planet. He has been referred to as the Thomas Edison of our time. Just as the light bulb changed the way that we looked at things, so did the innovations that Steve imagined and produced. Now, I may not have had the impact of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but the people that have used my software have gone on to do some amazing things with it. Just visit Disney World in Paris, or Balboa Park in San Diego, or the Saturn plant in Tennessee. So perhaps I did help change the world. And the revolution continues. The internet has made it possible for more people than ever to be involved in impacting our world. From the early days of static websites, we've witnessed dynamic sites built with content management systems, social media, e-commerce, videos, mobile apps, and more. Technology is still accelerating at an astonishing pace, and it's going to be exciting to see where we are in another 10 years. I'm now working on a new project that promises to add yet another dent in the universe. Want to find out what it is? The secret will soon be unveiled.